Scott Traylor. All right, hello everyone. Thanks for your patience. Great to see you here today. And as Warren had shared, we're going to talk a little bit about Virtual Worlds today. Just to try to stay on schedule, I'll only give a few brief comments and then introduce our panelists. The virtual world space has grown by leaps and bounds globally, not just in the US with kids sites, but also in sports and health and all kinds of other areas. So I've been tracking data in the virtual world space, specifically to the US for some time. I have just a few numbers to share just to stay on schedule. But it's oftentimes the usual suspects who do great work, who happen to be on the panel here with us today, some of them. And so I just have some of the data here. Is it showing up? Yeah. Let me make it a little bigger. I just pulled quickly the last 6 months of compete data. This is unique traffic that goes to these sites. We have Wizard 101 here today. That in my number crunching for the last 3 or 4 years, Wizard has come up #1 for many months in a row, many quarters. The big surprise here is Monkey Quest #2, where they're a pretty new entrant, not even 10 months old yet. And again, this is just uniques within the US. Pop Tropica from Pearson has finally overtaken Club Penguin and Webkinz. There's been an ongoing battle in that space for a good year and a half, 2 years. And Fantage has been a really neat surprise. I've been seeing Fantage rise in their numbers, and this too is another point where Fantage has beat out Club Penguin and Webkinz. So I have lots and lots of other data to share. If you're interested, I'd be happy to talk with you by phone or email. One of the interesting things, the total numbers down below, roughly 29 million, almost 30 million uniques in November in the US. All uniques across 369 different virtual worlds in the US come out to somewhere around 70 million uniques. So that gives you the size of the overall space of traffic within the US and how much of that, just in the top 10 kids space, that traffic is really taken up by. So why don't I get started here? From KingsIsle and the Virtual World Wizard 101 is Fred Howard, who is the VP of Marketing. Also, David Hwang, who is the CEO of Fantage.com. And David Samuelson, who is with Pearson. And did you create your own title, or did they give it to you?
A little of both.
Is it? Because his title totally rocks. He is the Director of Games and Augmented Reality for Pearson. And under his oversight, Pop Tropica is one of the many other projects, one among many projects that he's involved in. So why don't I first hand over the next panelist to Howard, and I'm opening up his presentation here. And you want to start?
Well, he's opening up all this.
Fred Howard.
Yep, great, thank you. Well, he's opening that up. Just some quick commentary. It's great hearing that last panel. Heard a lot of consistent things, both here at Kids at Play. Also, I had a chance to speak at the Silver Summit, and it's a lot about connectivity and about communities, about people playing together. Scott also led a small word slip. He's been following, I believe he says, the Kids Virtual World Space, and this is the Kids at Play Summit. But one of the things I want to spend a little bit of time talking about today is actually families playing together, because one of the reasons that we feel that Wizard 101 and KingsIsle has been so successful is we're not just targeting the kids market, we're actually targeting an all ages market. And I'll talk about how we differentiate that in a little bit. But we just started running in mid-December of the most recent December, is actually a campaign targeting adults and actually the boomer market. And what we did is shifted completely into a testimonial phase. We actually brought in actual Wizard 101 fans and players to help tell their story. It was a very fun event to participate in. It's telling a very different story. It's something that we've known for a long time, which is we have an enormous number of families playing together. And it was by design. Our two VPs that came up with the idea for Wizard 101 came from the hardcore space, and they really wanted to create a game that was targeted at the younger audience, but something also that they would want to play. And Scott, I'm going to jump ahead just because we're short on time. If you wouldn't mind jumping to to slide 6.
Oh my, I'm sorry. I don't have your PowerPoints here.
No, you don't have my PowerPoints. Fair enough. I'll talk to it.
Okay.
I can't act them out, though. So, so as I was saying, is our core development team decided to really focus on a property that they would want to play. And we've approached this from day one with the concept of there's a very big difference between family-friendly and family entertainment. And we've focused on creating family entertainment. Family-friendly to us is a Barney episode. I'm not offended as a parent when it comes on TV, but I'm certainly not sitting on the couch chomping at the bits to watch that next episode. And so that's been a really big aspect for us. The other thing that we're seeing is that it's changing the concept of family game night. And what we're finding with a property like Wizard 101 and the ability to communicate and work in a synchronous environment, not an asynchronous thing where you're pushing data back and forth, but you're actually sharing that information with and participating in the same environment is a very powerful tool, so that a grandparent who's sitting in Florida who may see the grandkids 1 or 2 times a year can actually play and experience the same thing with their grandchildren who may live in Texas, with a daughter who lives in Minnesota. So it's been a very powerful thing. The last thing I'll mention is we just engaged in an academic study by 2 professors at Trinity University. So it was not something that we commissioned. They actually reached out to us. It was a non-funded academic study that they saw as gamers this really mass intergenerational gameplay within Wizard 101. And so they asked us to do a study. And it was a really big turnout. They had over 38,000 people in the 2 weeks that we ran that study, and our site participated in that study. They believe one of, if not the largest study in an online community, and they found just an immense amount of data. And I can't reveal too much of it because there's still an academic review on the papers that they're publishing. But a few key things that came out that I think is very critical. 60% of the kids that are playing Wizard 101 playing Wizard 101 right now are playing with other family members, and a large percentage of those are actually playing with parents. An even greater proportion of the adults that are playing, over 68% of adults that are playing Wizard 101 are playing with family members as well. So they confirmed that something that we've known for years, which is there's this huge cross-generational gameplay in this shared community that's going on in Wizard 101. And I think it's changing the paradigm. So I talked about that difference of family game night. I think it's really changing and evolving the concept of how families play games together. And so the last panel talked about how there's this convergence of the types of platforms and the type of gaming that's going on. We're seeing something very similar, but instead of the platforms and the online, offline, what we're seeing is that interaction and that community that's going on between the families. It's a very powerful thing, and it's a really interesting phenomenon to participate and to see grow.
Thank you very much, Fred. I would encourage you all to check out that paper, because when I found it, I was pretty surprised. The study, the independent study about the percentage of adults and grandparents that are actually playing with their kids or grandchildren in world. It was quite startling. We're going to move forward with David from Vantage. And David, if need be, just give me a holler and I'll move this along.
Okay. Yeah, we're running out of time, so let's get started. So next page, please.
All right.
Okay, my name is David Hwang. I'm the CEO of the Vantage.com, and I co-founded the company about 5 years ago. So let's move on to what's Vantage. So the Vantage.com, you just type in www.vantage.com, and then you will see this page. It's blue, nice blue color. It's cute design. And then, as you've seen in the bottom, so we have E and 3, so ESRB, PEGI, and children's technology, mom's choice, kids safe, trustee. We got a lot of authorities, the recognition for the safe children's, the playground. Okay, next page. Then when you get into the website, you will see a lot of kids just together. They love to be together, and then they talk. And then what I show here is the safety check, the chat, so you can choose the vocabulary. But the big kids, over 14 years old, or the mom say okay, and then they can type in whatever they want. But we have filtering systems, so anything offensive, bad is not going through. So this is the first thing you can see generally. And then next page. So our kids here, They play games, and then they even buy stuff. When you play game, and then you get the virtual currency. So with the virtual currency, you can buy the nice dress or good furniture or even great home for yourself, and then you can dress up and you can decorate it by yourself. Okay. Let me introduce a little bit of our history. So that graphic is year 2008. We started year 2007 with the 6 people, including myself, my wife, and my friends. And then 1 year later, year 2007, we launched the website. Officially, January 1st, we started open beta, and then commercially we start business in March 2008. Then next page, please. And then in the corner of the right-hand side, the bottom corner, you can see lots of people. That's actually out of our the year-end party, end of December, the year 2011. We have over 50 people right now, and then a little longer than 4 years of our operation, so we have 16 registered users so far. So let me introduce a little bit of, again, the short stories, the why I started the Fantasia.com. So that picture is year 2002. I was working at Silicon Valley area at that time, and then moved to New Jersey. Then my daughter was all happy over there, and then she was always, all of a sudden, she was very unhappy. You know what? Why? Yep, next page. The answer is Playdate. She lost all her friends. It's 3,000 miles away. She wanted Playdate as usual, twice a week, but we couldn't do that. So at that time, I was thinking about any safe kids virtual playground. We can connect the kids all over the world, all over the United States. But at that time, as you know, our technology wasn't there. We used the dial-up service at that time. So I have friends in South Korea, so they have a lot of the virtual, the online games at the time, the MMORPGs, but it's a little harder for us to do it at that time. So my wife and myself, we were keep thinking about that. So probably sometime the technology is supporting our business, and then we can start, the Fantasia.com. At the time, we didn't decide the name yet, but so Kids Virtual the World. So as you can tell, our virtual world, the most important thing is kind of difference between our world and the other popular kids game websites. We don't have violence at all. You don't even curse on other people. It's a filtering system, really hard. And then we make everything pretty and nice and cute, but no violence, no blood. So safe kids playground. That's our motto from day one. And then we stick to it until now. Okay, next page, please. Okay, and then we had some idea at the time, but how we can do it. So from the beginning, we talked to our users. I had daughter and son at a young age at the time, so I talked to my daughter a lot, and then their friends, and then we built a website. And then we were so proud of ourselves because we made it. We made something to satisfy our own kids and then their friends. That was a big success for us at the beginning, at least we satisfied some kids. Then all of a sudden, thousands of kids started coming in, and then they play in our virtual world, and they complained. It was a big surprise. I made everything as my daughter asked me. And then why are they complaining to us? What they want is, at that time, those kids just stick together somewhere, and then they just, one person, they just copying the survivor game from the TV, and then they just give the, yellow classy, whatever theme, and then the kids are changing their dress, and then they just vote people, you are the best, and then you are the second. They play like that. We have a bunch of games at that time. We have over 20 games at that time, but they didn't play that game. They played their own game. We gotta listen to you, so we made the game. Like fashion show game is just like the game that they played, and then we just we copied them. And then, what's next? Next page, please. They wanted pets, so we made the pets. Next, please. Something.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Their site doesn't look like that.
Yeah. And then they wanted.
That's Microsoft helping.
Okay. Next page. Okay. I guess I can. So the thing there was the school. They wanted school. They even wanted virtual school. So we made a school. And then finally, my daughter said, I got an iPhone. So we made iPhone games. So that's actually our own game, and then we converted to iPhone and Android format. And then finally, moms ask us, they need something. Moms just tired of playing our game because their kids want to buy something. The moms play the game and then make the money, and then they buy something. So they want us to sell something, sell the currency directly to the moms. So we implemented the microtransaction system on top of the subscription system. And then what's next? Finally, kids not comfortable with the English speaking. They want us German version, French version, Arabic version, Chinese version, or all different versions. We are working on French version and German version right now. It will be out there pretty soon. Okay? That's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. What's great about Fanage, as I've been tracking my numbers, I've been very impressed. Your climb was quick and in a short amount of time. You've got some magic going on there that has definitely attracted the attention of kids. And speaking of magic, now David Samuelson and Pop Tropica and other kinds of great things, I'm sure.
Great, thanks. I want to first of all thank Kids at Play for reuniting Mark Schlichting and me. It's been 15 years since we worked together at Living Books, and I don't think we've seen each other since I left for Pearson from Living Books. So I've been at Pearson for 15 years. I have this great job. I'm part of a little strategy team at the center looking at sort of new areas of growth. In part, next slide, please. In part because of Pop Tropica. Pop Tropica has been a phenomenon, and it's not, we're not an entertainment company, and this is a very entertaining and very popular site. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Pop Tropica in a minute, but I want to make sure I give you a little background about, why we're looking at some of these areas. Next slide, please. Oops, want to get one of the special
Microsoft.
X's. That's our new logo up there with the X. We simplify our logo. If you don't know Pearson, we're one of the world's largest education publishers. We're in 60 countries. We trade in 100 countries. We're also own the Financial Times and the Penguin Group. So there's a wide variety of content and involvement there. And as I was thinking about talking this morning, it was important to me to talk about why we're all here to some degree. And it also speaks to why I'm doing what I'm doing at Pearson and why someone's looking at this industry. I came out of the educational software industry, as I mentioned, so it's not really outside of what I've been thinking about for the years I've been at Pearson, but it's really about engagement, and kids like the whole concept of play is when kids are engaged, and the learning is very rich at that moment. And Chick St. Mihai said it, coined it pretty well when he talks about flow. And so I think that's one of the reasons that it's important to explore these cultural phenomena and listen to kids and figure out how we can do better with our learning materials that way. Next slide. This is my nephew Thomas, and again the concept of play and learning by pretending or being in virtual spaces is an important concept when kids are growing up. It's how we learn originally. They immediately start playing with the things that they're consuming, and so he's flying a pterodactyl up in the air with his iPod his touch. Next slide, please. And there's been an explosion of easy access to a huge new mobile infrastructure that makes it easy to publish games. And there's lots and lots of consumption going on. Next slide. It also reminds me of all those apps sort of remind me of this era. Those are my two kids, Emily on the left and Jacob on the right. Emily's 32 and Jacob's 26. Wow. They grew up playing with the products I was making, Living Books and Oregon Trail. I was at MEC before then. And there today are now your generation, the generation that are making decisions about what they buy for their families. They're the politicians, the educators, the entrepreneurs. And so it's not foreign for them to play games to learn. It's not foreign for them to be immersed in an environment that isn't a real environment and have learning happen. So I think that's really an important point. Next slide. This, I think, is also an important point. I think women are having a greater influence on the game industry, certainly, if you look at it in the last few years with the Wii and the titles that are coming out of the AAA developers and everything. And that's changing. It goes to your point of family play. The living room's becoming a game space with a big monitor at the end of it and lots of little devices that you're interacting with. And so I think that's going to change how things are going. You can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pop Tropica now. These are some of our stats. Pop Tropica started in 2007, and Pop Tropica is part of a set of websites that Pearson has called Family Education Network. It includes familyeducation.com and TeacherVision and FunBrain. And FunBrain has been very popular in schools for a long time, but we couldn't sort of get kids to come back after school. And so that was the problem we started to solve, and I was sort of running FEN at the time. And so we were trying to come up with something that would allow that to happen. And you may, and it was, next slide, please. And we conceived of Pop Tropica as a publishing platform, as a storytelling platform, not so much as a gaming platform. Each of the islands that are launched have a story behind them, and kids are engaged in these stories. So it's a bit of a new form of publishing, if you will, and it's really captured kids' imaginations because of that. You may or may not know that the person behind, the guy who really created the concept around Pop Tropica is a man named Jeff Kinney. You may know Jeff because he's also the author of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And Jeff really gets this age group, this 7 to 14 age group, and I think that magic is really part of it. Mm-hmm. So Pop Tropica is now moving into other products. This is a Penguin book that just got published, which is the official guide. There's a series of stories that are coming out from Penguin that are Pop Tropica branded books. Next slide. There's also toys and cards that you start to see around at Walmart and Target and things like that are starting to come out. Next slide. And then just to close on a couple things about Pearson, it's so broad. One of the virtual environments like simulations are really a great place for lots of learning, lots of assessment, lots of interaction. If you play World of Warcraft, you're getting constant feedback about what you're learning and what you're doing. And simulations are something in our higher ed group, not so much for the older kids in the world, are ways that we can experiment with things. So we're doing some of that at Pearson. Next slide. And augmented reality is getting better defined as we move forward. But as we have all of these devices in everyone's hand all the time, it's a window into the world that you can layer information on. And that is a great teaching tool. And you've already, I don't know if you saw the keynote on Tuesday with the Sesame workshop and the new toys and the AR activity where Bert and Ernie come to life. It's fantastic. And that kind of activity is going to happen more and more. And so understanding how it's going to impact formal learning and informal learning is something that we're really interested in. So if you're doing anything in this space, I'd be interested in hearing about it. But it's going to be dramatic. And I'll just close a little bit long with this, one of my favorite quotes from Sandra Day O'Connor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. There's so many great things to talk about related to Pop Tropica and a lot of the newer initiatives that you're involved in. But I have two very short Pop Tropica stories. I follow the children's tech space very closely, and it's rare that I learn about something from kids before I actually know the people who made it or read about it in Warren's magazine or hear about it from other folks in the toy industry. There were 3 virtual world sites that I had been told by kids before I discovered it. The first was Club Penguin, the second was Pop Tropica, and the third was Minecraft. And Minecraft is in its very early days and is really taken off like crazy. I imagine, they're an award winner tonight at the Cappies. Mm-hmm. But the other great thing about Pop Tropica is if you go to Family Education Network and look at the mini games, you can see the evolution before Pop Tropica launched. And it's totally wonderful to see Jeff Kinney's thinking in how Pop Tropica got made.
Yeah, Jeff's actually been at Pearson. He still is running Pop Tropica, even though he's a famous author. He started in 1997 when I did. He worked on the project that I first came to Pearson to do, and he stayed through all those years as a design director, and so it's
He could have quit and moved to Hollywood.
Could have, yeah.
Yep. So I know our time is short. I think we may have just a short amount of time for a couple of questions, if there are any from the audience. There must be something. Yes.
How do you find the balance between education, content, and entertainment?
Is that for me?
A balance between education
all
and
of us?
entertainment
Yeah.
content.
Well, I think that's a really good question. And I think at the core of this conference is this notion that kids learn when they play. And that's certainly true when kids are little. And you'll see lots of learning in Pop Tropica, but it's not the same textbook learning that we publish for schools. And if you compare those two, you're not going to find a relationship. But there's history in one of the islands. There's sort of a fractured history island where you have to put it back together, and so you learn bits of history while you play that game. And I think that kind of learning is more meaningful because it's a quest. And the Oregon Trail, which is one of the most famous learning virtual world kind of games, was a quest as well. And I think when you're after something, you figure out how to learn what you need to do to get there, and that's a great engagement factor.
I could just add, I think one of the interesting things, if you think about kids playing pick-up kickball, it's not an organized sport. You're not being taught necessarily a specific football or baseball skill, but you're learning. And I think a lot of the gaming now is developing in that same sense, that when you're playing a lot of these games, whether it's in Pop Tropica, Wizard 101, you're picking up skills on socialization, on solving problems, on analytical skills, on all these other areas that aren't traditional learning. It's not that I've just learned long division or appropriate grammar necessarily. There's still a lot of learning that can go on in a non-quoted educational game.
But you might be inspired
Absolutely.
to go learn more about math because of that puzzle.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
You guys need a trumpet solo or anything?
okay, I just add up just a couple things. The education and the entertainment is very difficult to combine. That's everybody knows. And then I think the education is two different things. One is make kids good person, and then the other one is we give them some good knowledge. So I started with make people good person. So in our website, intentionally we have the strong the filtering system. So they talk nicely, they behave nicely with other people, and then playing the role play. We have school system in there, and then they can play teacher. Sometimes they be a teacher, sometimes be a student, and then they can run. The different person have different position and the different viewpoint. So we try to make kids kind of good person first, and then we recently just adding up more educational contents. So I used the map of the United States a little ago, but that 50 states, we have so many states, 50 states, it's hard to remember where is where. But through the game, they remember within a day. So all the kids playing the game, they remember all the states, where is it? It's very simple. And then we have addition game, math game. You play game. Actually, your character is running. And then you have right answer on your math quiz. 5 plus 25, what's that? And then you have right answer, your character running faster. So they are playing game. They racing game. But still they practicing addition, multiplication, plus and minus hundreds of times a day. Definitely they running their skill. So it's hard, but in given environment, we can combine it, and then we can deliver it to our kids kind of nice manner.
Well, thank you. And with that, we're going to have to wrap. I wish we had more time because there's so much to talk about in terms of advertising and conversion and expanding and monitoring could be a whole day event. But thank you all very much for coming. I just want to wrap with this one thing. I recently had the great privilege of attending a conference that Howard Gardner was presenting his life's work. And in it, he says the opportunities in technology for the future of learning are in virtual reality. And I think much of the work that's being done now is a precursor to virtual reality, the virtual worlds, which will lead to brand new, great opportunities for learning online. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to catch us either outside or after the event.